We each kind of picked a little topic that we want to kind of get into. The first thing, I'm just going to knock this one out of the way. So I did a little research. I named this Just Another Nerdy Podcast, and I started thinking about it. I'm like, what does nerdy really mean? Because it's this enigma. There's like a mystery to the term nerd. It almost seems like it's applied to almost anything now. And people are talking about how the idea of nerd is getting cool. Like everyone is nerdy. You know, everyone has their own nerdiness to them.
When did being a nerd get cool?
Well, so like, there's the joke about the idea that like, nerds become your boss, and then the hot girls marry nerds now. That's a whole thing now. People are like, oh, that type of shit. It's this interesting shallow term. So when I Googled what the term nerd meant, a foolish or contemptible person who lacks social skills or is boringly studious.
Oh, that's not something sounds like you want to be, but like sometimes.
A single-minded expertise, particularly in the technical field. Those are the two terms. The origin is from the 1950s. I also Googled the term nerdy. Unfashionable and socially inept, or boringly studious.
Right here.
Yeah, or boringly studious. So this is getting a little closer, like just this idea of unfashionable, which is ironically becoming fashionable.
I'm gonna toss myself out your window, Jay.
Well, sit down and think about, go to a Kohl's. There's an entire section of nerd t-shirts that you can buy at $10 a pop. This is where I get most of my shit from. You can't see it because of the fucking microphone, but
other way.
Oh, yeah, you went definitely the wrong way the first time.
Stage right. Jay.
So anyways, this is where I buy most of my shit from. But it's this thing, like, there's entire sections at, like, Hot Topic that's Stranger Things, Doctor Who.
Yeah.
Those are nerdy things. But what makes them nerdy? So then, so this idea of characterized as obsessive sticks with me, like something that we obsess about. But it's interesting because I'm not obsessed with one thing. But if you talk about, like, I can get obsessed about one thing. Like, I can talk about film all day long, like, especially when I was working at the movie theater, Drake, I've heard you can talk about Doctor Who all fucking day long.
I did it to Nate last night.
Yeah.
Just, like, we got talking about something, like, there was, like, the most, like, how old is Rassilon kind of a question.
Yeah. So this term of nerdy is getting into obsession. So then I'm like, okay, I need to look at other places. So I go to the Urban Dictionary.
That's a good
start. I love that
nerd
website.
This one pretty much nails it. Okay, nerd does not adhere to social norms.
That's what I would say.
Yeah.
You have an interest in something that is not, like, popular, and that's, like, it's becoming popular to be nerdy. So, like, things that were not generally, like, Doctor Who, especially during, like, the 80s, Doctor Who was not cool.
Right? Well, I couldn't even, my uncle tried to get me to watch it, and the reason why I never watched it when I was a little kid was because I'd be like, but who's the doctor? And he's like, Doctor Who. And I'd be like, fuck you, I'm done! Enjoys learning. This is another one. That's a big one. I enjoy learning about movies. I enjoy learning about comic books and TV and movies. I think that's another big thing, is, like, I enjoy the learning of something. This is my favorite one. The most dangerous people in the world. Because guess who invented nukes? Guess who invented guns? Guess who invented tanks? Fucking nerds! They're the most dangerous people in the world, motherfucker. The term was coined derogatory originally, but now it seems like it's less derogatory and it's more of an owned term. Except for we don't have our word nerd.
Dude, I could list awful, horrible things I was called in high school because of the way that I am.
Yeah?
And now all of the things that I'm doing are considered cool.
Yeah.
That's fucking strange.
It's interesting. Indicates retention of knowledge, so the ability to retain things. This is actually... So there's an interesting debate they had on there of... Fuck you, phone. Of geeks versus... nerds. So the term geeks versus the term nerds. So geeks are supposed to be more outgoing. However, nerd indicates like they have more intellect than geeks.
What about a dork?
they had that part, and I just didn't fucking decide to read into that because I like the duality rather than adding more complications and shit. You called me out, damn it, Drizzt.
Fuck you, Jay.
Anyways,
Oh shit, this has been a.
oh, sirens are going off. Okay, so I think it's really interesting. To me, the term nerd applies to something that you know a lot about. Something that you like to get intellectual about and want to learn about.
If you're willing to like pursue information on it, you are a nerd for that topic.
I do think this idea of socially inept is changing, though.
Hard disagree from this nerd over here. It's a miracle I can talk to you guys.
But at the same time, like, I know a lot of nerds who are able to like get out there and be social. You know, they're nerdy about things like cosplay, comic books. It's about finding that relation, you know, like that middle ground.
I've been at the place that I work. I have a have to wear a stupid name tag, and mine has said the doctor for the past 6 months. And you'd be surprised how many people say stuff. What are you a doctor of? Is what I get a lot. And then I try to do like, I'm pretty sure one of the incarnations of the doctor said cheese making. So I like to go cheese making.
Matt Smith, when they were trapped in the hotel with the Minotaur that ate people's fear.
Hey, there you go.
Retention of knowledge. Nerd of Doctor Who. See, that's where it's this idea of retaining knowledge over something, which...
What was that episode called? Praise Him, I think.
It's very interesting. It's a very interesting concept to think about that it kind of shakes me a little.
Why?
Because there are things that I thought I was nerdy about, and the truth is I just enjoy them. I may not be very nerdy about them. Like, you know, like Doctor Who. I fucking love Doctor Who. I love a lot of moments in Doctor Who. I don't know I could say that I'm a nerd of Doctor Who because I don't know what you're talking about sometimes, you know? Like, I can tell you about the moment that I was watching Jack announce that he was the face of Bo. That made me lose my goddamn shit. But my knowledge is very shallow in comparison. So this idea that being a nerd means something that you enjoy learning about, that you have this extensive knowledge. So we hope that in just another nerdy podcast, I think that